I'm so sorry, Grandpa. I'm so sorry about everything. I just don't know what to do. I don't.
It's all right. Everything will be all right.
If you were watching TV in the early 2000s, you knew Rory Gilmore. Drowning in a sea of Pop-Tarts and witty banter, she was the quiet, bookish girl who seemed to have it all figured out. She was the patron saint of overachievers, the girl who could quote Proust in The Professionals in the same breath. For an entire generation, Rory Gilmore wasn't just a character. She was an aspiration. The perfect daughter, the perfect student, the perfect girlfriend. But here's the thing. That perfect girl was a myth from the very beginning. She was a carefully constructed ideal, and one that was probably doomed to fail. And if you look a little closer, you might start to wonder if Rory Gilmore was, underneath it all, actually the worst? Now, hold on. Put down your coffee. I'm not here to just throw stones. In this video, we're going to break down the myth of the perfect girl and argue that the very things that were supposed to make Rory special, her intelligence, her supportive family, her small-town charm, were actually the ingredients for her downfall. We'll explore how she became a character defined by entitlement, a crippling fear of failure, and an almost complete lack of accountability, making her one of the most fascinatingly frustrating characters in television history. Let's start at the beginning. Chapter 1. Manufacturing Perfection in Stars Hollow. So where did this myth of the perfect girl even come from? Well, you don't have to look much further than Stars Hollow itself. From the moment we meet her, Rory isn't just a kid, she's a town project. Everyone, from Luke at the diner to Miss Patty at the dance studio, treats her like the chosen one. She's the smart one, the good one, the town's golden ticket to the Ivy League. In this idyllic echo chamber, Rory never has to face a single piece of meaningful criticism. She's constantly told how special she is, so naturally she starts to believe it. And then there's Lorelai. As a mother, Lorelai is incredible. She's Rory's best friend, her confidant, her personal pop culture dictionary, but she's also a woman who put her own dreams on hold at 16. Every ambition Lorelai had for herself, the fancy education, the world travel, the career, gets projected onto Rory. It's a loving, supportive kind of pressure, but it's pressure nonetheless. Lorelai doesn't just want Rory to succeed, she needs her to succeed, to have the life she never did. By being more of a best friend than a parent, she shields Rory from the hard truths and tough love that are necessary for real growth. And to complete the perfect girl-making machine, we have the grandparents. Richard and Emily Gilmore are the ultimate safety net, woven from old money and social connections. The minute Rory needs to go to a fancy private school, Chilton, they're there with a blank check. When she needs to go to Yale, they're there again. This privilege insulates Rory from the consequences of her choices. For most people, failure has stakes. For Rory, failure just means a Friday night dinner and a check from Grandpa. So you have a town that adores her, a mother who lives vicariously through her, and grandparents who can buy her way out of any problem. She was never just a girl, she was an investment. And from day one, she was never allowed to be anything less than perfect. But no matter how perfect the plan is, real life has a funny way of messing things up. And for Rory, that mess came in the form of boys. Enter Dean Forrester. On paper, he was the perfect first boyfriend for the perfect girl. He was tall, dependable, and he even built her a car. He was safe. He fit the narrative. But almost immediately, we see the cracks in Rory's perfect girlfriend persona. It starts with a simple possessiveness. Her constant referral to him as "my Dean" feels less like affection and more like a claim of ownership. This all comes to a head when Jess Mariano rolls into town. Jess is everything Dean isn't. He's brooding, rebellious, and most importantly to Rory, he's read more books. He challenges her, and she is immediately drawn to the intellectual spark that Dean, bless his heart, just can't provide. Now, a mature, emotionally responsible person would recognize this and end things with their current boyfriend. But Rory doesn't do that. Instead, for months, she emotionally cheats on Dean. She keeps him dangling on a string, all while building a secret intellectual and emotional world with Jess. She lies, she sneaks around, and she makes Dean feel crazy for noticing that something is wrong. The physical cheating, when she finally kisses Jess while still with Dean, is just the inevitable conclusion to a long campaign of dishonesty. And right here in season 2, we see the birth of a pattern that will define Rory's entire romantic life. A pattern of wanting what she can't have, refusing to let go of what she does, and leaving a trail of emotional wreckage in her wake, all while seeing herself as the innocent victim of circumstance. And believe me, this was just the warm-up act. Chapter 3. The Great Yale Meltdown. So, Rory gets into Yale, and for a while the perfect trajectory seems to be holding steady. She's excelling, she's the editor of the Yale Daily News, and she's dating a media heir, Logan Huntsberger. Everything is going exactly according to the master plan. And then she gets an internship at one of Logan's father's newspapers. This is it, the moment her specialness is supposed to be validated by the real world. But that's not what happens. Instead, she gets the single most devastating piece of feedback of her entire life. Mitchum Huntsberger, a titan of the industry, sits her down and tells her flat out, "You don't have it." Now, to a well-adjusted person, this is tough but valuable criticism. It's a sign that you need to hustle, to prove them wrong, to find a different angle. But Rory isn't a well-adjusted person. She's a perfect girl who has just been told she's not perfect. And her reaction is not to work harder. Her reaction is to completely and utterly fall apart. Because she has never been taught how to handle failure, she doesn't have the tools. So what does she do? She convinces Logan to commit a felony by stealing a yacht. Let's just pause on that for a second. Her response to professional criticism was grand larceny. And then she drops out of Yale. This isn't just a moment of teenage rebellion. It's the ultimate act of privilege. She throws away an education that most people would kill for, all because one person told her she wasn't the best. It's the most entitled tantrum imaginable, and it proves that the myth of her perfection was built on a foundation of sand. She was never prepared for a world that wouldn't just hand her success, and the moment it didn't, she broke. Of course, the Gilmore safety net was right there waiting, and she just moved into her grandparents' Pull house, consequence-free. Chapter 4. The Romantic Wrecking Ball. If her academic and professional life was built on a fragile sense of self, her love life was a 5-alarm dumpster fire of self-centered decisions. We saw the pattern start with Dean and Jess, but it gets so much worse. Let's go back to Dean. After breaking his heart, she comes back to Stars Hollow and decides she wants him again. The only problem? He's married. To Rory, this is a minor logistical issue. She pursues him and ultimately sleeps with him, losing her virginity to her married ex-boyfriend. When Lorelai confronts her, Rory's justification is staggering in its entitlement. He was mine first. She frames herself as the protagonist of a love story so epic that another woman's marriage is just a plot complication. She shows zero empathy for Lindsay, the actual wife in this situation, because in Rory's world, her feelings are the only ones that truly matter. Then there's Logan. She starts off judging his wealth and his privileged, reckless lifestyle, positioning herself as morally superior. But it doesn't take long for her to happily embrace that world. She becomes a willing participant in the life and death brigade, and her principles seem to melt away when there are parties to attend and expensive gifts to be had. And of course, the pattern continues. At a wedding, she sleeps with Logan right after they've broken up, despite knowing he's been with all of his ex-girlfriend's bridesmaids. It's messy, impulsive, and once again, completely self-serving. But the saddest, most telling example of all is Paul. In A Year in the Life, Rory has a boyfriend named Paul. He's kind, he's devoted, and she completely forgets he exists for 2 years. His entire existence is a running gag, played for laughs, but when you think about it, it's an incredibly cruel and selfish way to treat another human being. It's the ultimate culmination of her romantic pattern. Other people are just supporting characters in her story, and if they're not interesting enough, they simply cease to exist in her mind. Chapter 5, The Patron Saint of Gifted Kid Burnout. So why is she like this? Is she just a terrible person? I don't think it's that simple. I think Rory Gilmore is the patron saint of gifted kid burnout. If you've ever been called the smart kid, you might know what I'm talking about. It's a phenomenon where kids who are praised for being naturally intelligent their whole lives link their self-worth entirely to that praise and achievement. They don't learn the value of hard work because they've never had to. So what happens when they finally enter the real world? A world full of other smart, talented people, and the praise stops. They crumble. The fear of being average becomes paralyzing. This is Rory's entire life story. All through high school and most of Yale, she was the smartest person in the room, and success came easily. But when she faced real competition and real criticism, she had no idea what to do. A Year in the Life is basically a documentary on this subject. We see a 32-year-old Rory who is completely adrift. She's a freelance journalist with no stable work. She shows up to an interview for a website called Sandy Says with zero ideas, acting like they should just give her the job because, well, she's Rory Gilmore. When they don't, she's offended. It's the Mitchum Huntbinker situation all over again, only now she's a decade older and hasn't learned a thing. But her professional life was a roaring success compared to her personal life because, of course, she's having an affair. And not just any affair, she is once again the other woman for an engaged Logan Huntsberger. She has completely regressed, falling back into the exact same destructive patterns she established as a teenager. She had learned absolutely nothing from the pain she caused with Dean and Lindsay. It's a shocking display of moral stagnation, proving that for Rory, personal growth has always taken a backseat to getting what she wants in the moment. And then, of course, we get the final 4 words, the bombshell that the show's creator had planned from the beginning. Mom? Yeah? I'm pregnant. It's meant to be a full circle moment, and it is, but not in the triumphant way we might have hoped. Rory has ended up exactly where her mother started, a single 30-something woman facing an unplanned pregnancy. But Lorelai's story was about a brave teenager who defied her privileged background to build a life on her own terms. Rory's story ends with her retreating back into that privilege, writing a book about her more interesting mother because she failed to create a compelling story of her own. History repeating itself, but this time, it feels less like a triumph and more like a tragedy. Conclusion: the tragedy of being special. So, after all that, was Rory Gilmore really the worst? Maybe that's a bit harsh. She's not a villain. She's something far more complex and, frankly, more tragic. Rory Gilmore is the product of a myth created by a town that worshipped her, a mother who needed her to be perfect, and grandparents who ensured she'd never have to face the consequences of not being perfect. She was manufactured in a lab of high expectations and low stakes. Her fatal flaw wasn't a lack of intelligence or a bad heart. It was her fundamental belief that she was special. She believed she was entitled to success, entitled to the man she wanted regardless of who it hurt, and entitled to a life free of the struggles that shaped the rest of us. When the world didn't bend to her will, she didn't know how to bend back. And that, ultimately, is why her character remains so powerful and so divisive. Because in Rory, we see a reflection of our own anxieties about potential and privilege. We see the cautionary tale of a girl who was told she could be anything, so she never had to fight to become something. So, was Rory Gilmore the worst, or was she just the predictable, heartbreaking result of the myth everyone, including herself, wanted so desperately to believe? But what do you think? Am I being too hard on Rory, or was her downfall a long time coming? I'd love to hear your take in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite and least favorite characters. Until next time,
try not to steal any yachts. Thanks for watching.